Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining us today in what is episode 2 in the Value First Data series. Chris is off doing Chris things today, so it is me and Clevin, and I am in a weird, I think, host position here because I don't feel like I should be the host, but I just happen to have the host controls on StreamYard. I showed up thinking that I was just going to chit chat with my friend Clement, but we have business to attend to today. Clement, do you want to give people a little bit of an overview of what Value First Data is, and then I can jump off on like last week and what I gathered from last week.
Yeah, definitely. Casey, good to have you here. I'm sure we won't miss Chris. No offense, Chris.
All offense, fully offense.
I mean, yeah, the whole series started last week, more or less. So it was really just a high level deep dive, for a better of worse, a combination of words. The whole idea is really to just go through how the data flow is changing, or is supporting all kind of 8 stages of the value path, and how you should think at different stages about different data, different use of data, how loop marketing is kind of its own loop in every stage. We kind of touched on that, went through ideas. I think laid a really good ground for what's coming. As we discussed before we went live, we might go in the other direction as it was maybe planned, but I think it's for a good reason, wherever we go. Really, the main goal of everything is talk about data from all different aspects, and I'm actually excited to have you bring your own perspective around all the scoring and everything, which is a big part of value first data, how to think differently about data. And yeah, audience stage. Before we go deep dive, curious to hear your thoughts after reviewing last week's discussion.
Yes. So my took notes, and just jump in, let me know where I got it right, where I misunderstood. But you were really covering the value first value paths, which if this is your first time hearing about these, if you go to valuefirst.site/framework, and then if you control F audience like I did, then you will find the 8 stages of the value path. It starts with audience. That's what we're going to be discussing today. Researcher, which is people who are researching. Hand raisers are the people ready to buy. And then hero, I'm building conviction. But then it goes farther than that. We go into value creator, creating value for the organization, adopter, seeing the value, advocate, telling others about you, and then champion is the raving fans. And why this is really interesting when it comes to lead scoring is this is not how lead scoring is traditionally set up. But as you mentioned, you talked a lot last week about HubSpot's new loop marketing, which has express, tailor, amplify, and then evolve. But it doesn't match traditional life cycle stages. It doesn't match the flywheel. So instead, what you and Chris were discussing is how loop marketing actually fits into all of these stages, and how you actually have to loop within each stage, basically. which does make sense when you think about it. So if loop marketing, express, know who you are, tailor your message to your audience, amplify that message, and then make changes as needed. I mean, that looks different for someone who, like we're talking about today, might just be like browsing the internet and run into you. Then it's going to look like for someone who's in an active buying cycle, that expression is going to look different, but also the way you amplify is going to look different as well.
Yeah. I definitely agree with how you summarize it. I would say, it's really loop or loops within loop. and
loop de loop.
Yeah, loop de loop. Yeah. The main kind of way of thinking is it really can be loop at any stage, because you can express, you can amplify, you can tailor messaging for different buying stages, customer journey stages, value path stages, all of those, and the goal of what you are saying and how you're saying, and also the data supporting that is totally different. And someone in the audience stage is really, I'm just looking around, so the signals, if you will, for that, or how you score, or how you serve them, is totally different, even from the data perspective. How you identify who is where, part of it, the answer is in data, that you can kind of collect and measure. Part of it is just maybe you just don't know, and just think how to serve the loop in each of those stages, so they can feel it, and they can express their own next step, or where they are, or they can find their own path forward from where they currently are.
Yeah. So I know the plan is to cover all 8 stages. And Chris did let me know that if I did well today, then I might have a spot in the future sessions, which was very, very kind of him.
Who's the judge? Do we open the poll after the event, or is it just Chris? Who is the gatekeeper?
So we'll see if I do a good enough job today. We'll have to find out. Yeah, we can.
I'm happy. I say right now, I'm happy to have you even next week. Don't worry, I'll convince Chris so you can join.
Yeah, in the comments, you just drop and say that yes, Casey, or something. I don't know. Tell Chris.
Help us tell Chris Casey should be here next week.
But for today, until I pass this test, I am just here to talk about the audience stage. And when we talk about this audience stage, this is representing people in their earliest moments with your brand. These are often going to be people who Googled a question on the internet, ran into a piece of content from you, and then may have moved on with their lives. Personally, I do HubSpot consulting. I have a couple of resources on my website, a couple of blog posts. I don't have a big website. I am but a single person. But for example, I have one on marketing contacts and how to best manage your marketing contacts. There's a world where someone is just looking up what to do about their HubSpot marketing contacts, how to manage that. They wind up on my website. Maybe they read the full blog post. Maybe they even download the PDF that I have that has like the step-by-step instructions. Maybe all of that happens. And then they leave, and then what? And the reason I think I got brought in today is because traditional lead scoring would say, amazing. That person came to your website, they read your entire blog, and they downloaded that resource. Get them on the phone, start calling them, start LinkedIn messaging. But it's a little much. Because from like the user perspective, from me, I have downloaded resources from the internet before and I have gotten calls. Never once have I been like, oh yeah, that white paper I downloaded, I couldn't wait to talk to your sales team after that. So it just puts a bad taste in your mouth, really, when we treat this audience, these people who are just merely consuming content as, and they're not even in the research stage yet. They're just like randomly got added to our blog for whatever reason. And then we treat them as if they're like sales ready. It causes so much friction with the individuals that were on our blog, because then suddenly they're like, I don't ever want to talk to you because I got overwhelmed immediately. But also, I come from marketing. It causes a lot of friction with marketing and sales, because marketing sending these like good leads, marketing qualified leads over, but sales is not getting anywhere with them. And there's no trust anywhere.
Yeah. Around the audience stage, I also like to think about, you know, LinkedIn in general. You know, the feed. You keep seeing someone's post or someone's engagements over and over again. It happened to me several times at Inbound. People stopped me wearing the alien and said, "Hey, you know, I've been seeing you for the past 3 days with your alien on LinkedIn. I have no idea what you do, but you know, kudos for what you're doing." So this is kind of, you know, the audience out there. They might like the post after that, but it doesn't mean they're, you know, anywhere close to for me pitching them the demo of Celestial or the system or anything. They're just there, and they might see your content, and they might even download one of your PDFs or lead magnets or whatnot. But it doesn't mean they're really saying, "Hey, you know, I'm even a researcher." They might just find you somewhere, and it also doesn't mean that you should be, you know, emailing them every month with something new. They will rather unsubscribe if you try to push too much your content to kind of nurture them, and especially with every inbox being so overwhelmed with everything, you really don't have time to, you know, to read through everything, even if you downloaded something. I know how many times I download something or I, you know, comment whatever banana, and I'll send you my you know, whatever playbook. I don't think I ever even get to that resource. What not that means I'm buying your service. I'm just in the audience. Part of it why I comment in those posts is because I'm curious what happens, just, you know, see how others are doing things. But it's really, you know, I'm just part of the audience, and I don't want to be called out from a SDR to hey, when is a good time to book a demo. And then to your point of lead scoring, keep that in mind. People are just, you know, in the audience. They might never buy from you, but they might still consume some of your content. So treat the automation wisely. Even though the tool allows you to automate things and then keep automating things, it doesn't mean that you should automate everything and just, you know, keep reaching out to each and every one through 4 different workflows, because hey, why not? They visited your homepage, and then they went to a blog post. Now 4 different workflows triggered some action, some communication. Then they're kind of swamped with all the communication. This is where the data and the signals might trigger wrong action.
Yeah, I think it does oftentimes, because I think a lot of times people in this stage, they might be, like you said, bookmarking something to open later or whatever, like why ever they were downloading or interacting with your content. But what they want to feel like is that they can explore your content without having consequences. So they're not going to be bombarded by your content. And they have just like a gentle curiosity. But the more barriers we put in front of people who are in this stage, the harder it is to move them into other stages. Because if they're a little skeptical right now about you because they don't know you, if suddenly you're gating a ton of content or sending them a bunch of messages, calling them, that's going to cause more harm than good in this stage.
Yeah. I would say kind of the data I want to capture, if you will, is not necessarily their phone number, so you can call them out tomorrow. But rather maybe, email, so that you can recognize them, or their LinkedIn profile, so you can kind of understand their profile. If nothing else, if you're tracking who is on your website, understand who's the audience on your website, who you're attracting, so you can tailor the messaging to those personas, not necessarily to pitch them right away. It's really a broad audience. 80% of those will never buy. 10% might buy in the next 3 years, and then a small fraction of everyone might be ready to move forward to research or hand raiser and further.
But when I talk to organizations about this, what I often hear, and just putting it into the lead scoring framework for my own reasons, is people want to lead score these people because, one, what are they going to send their sales team if they're not including these blog visits, these like top of funnel really interactions? That's concern number one. And then concern number two tends to be the 1 in a million. Like you said, there are a few people that are going to be ready to move to research or hand raiser. And I hear organizations that are so scared of losing that person that they treat everyone as if they're a hand raiser because one of them might be.
Yeah. In a way, that goes kind of to measure everything, and everyone who is downloading is measured as conversion. Hey, we're doing something right. We have the right content. So let's see how many of those that converted that PDF will convert further to MQL and SQL and then book demo and whatnot. And because of kind of that urgency we want to create and the KPIs, we don't allow people to just be in the audience stage. We try to force them. Tell me, are you a hand raiser or not? Otherwise, I don't care. Type of the approach, where I would say more and more now you really want to build the trust into the company, into the people behind it, and when you will be in a position to be in the research or in kind of hand raiser stage where you are in the buying mode, those will be the brands and names you will go to check for for the solution because you're already familiar, because you were in their audience for a while and you recognize them as, hey, these are the experts for X, Y, and Z. And when I decide to go further, it will be when I feel, okay, my pain is now so acute that I want to be a hand raiser, and I want to move forward, not because you are trying to convert me into a demo, just because this is how you automated the communication. And I keep getting phone calls from SDRs from a company where I had a demo like 8 years ago. They keep calling me. I started 2 different businesses in the meantime. They keep calling me. If I want to have a demo because they have X, Y, and Z feature ready, which might solve something.
Mm-hmm.
I have really zero intention, and I always tell them that they should not call me. And in a few months, they call me again. And if I ever need something, I will figure out if they are part of what I want to learn. But not because they're calling me. I won't go to the other stage.
I think part of the problem, in my opinion, is that we don't trust people to know if they are actually in the hand raising stage, or even the research stage. We don't trust people to show us that. And I think the reason we don't trust people to show us that is because we're not very good at like making that easy and making that clear. I think a lot of times people will say, oh, well, we want to follow up with our resource downloads because they might not know who we are. Well, why don't we just make it perfectly clear who we are? Like, why aren't we doing that?
Yeah.
And I think
yeah,
that's where, and that's where, like, that's where the loop marketing does come in, because the first step of loop marketing is express. Yeah,
what you do.
express. So if you are good at expressing what you do, there shouldn't be a concern about whether or not anyone who downloads your resource is going to know to raise their hand when that time comes.
Yeah. And part of that, I think, is the I would say a good approach of what HubSpot did, whatever, months ago, when they said, our blog post visits dropped for 80%, and that shocking numbers. Have the content which express what you do and what the value of your system is, not just random content, because then people can understand what you are, and by expressing what you do in the right way, and I keep saying that, people in your audience will naturally understand who you are. And going to the data part of the discussion, I would say this is the stage where you really shouldn't try to measure KPIs and data, and metrics are not important to the audience stage. It's more what kind of loop marketing is saying. Just express, tailor, amplify. Care about those, not what KPIs do. How many people from downloading a PDF to MQL or to demo booked you have, but rather, are we communicating to that audience the right messages, the right problems? Are they understanding what we are helping them solve when they need it? Are we building the rapport when they need an expert that they think of us?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to measure. the success of that. I think it's more of what you should think and measure is more of, is it consistent messaging? Is it consistently telling, expressing what we are, who we are, rather than how many people downloaded a PDF or particular PDF.
I think for me, the data piece of this is more about how do we get this phase out of the rest of our marketing, and knowing who this audience is, who the audience is versus the researchers, because too often we're treating all of these three as one, and I think that does us a disservice because it can come off as overwhelming or creepy. Yeah. So from my perspective, it's like, and how this comes into data for me is how to exclude this. And I try to do this with lead scoring by only scoring contacts who have downloaded at least 2 resources or have visited our blog multiple times, not the first time they ever visit our blog. I'll also do this sometimes by looking at what they downloaded and how that applies to me. So if you downloaded my guide on non-marketing contacts, that might not be, while that is something I can do for you, you are probably pretty self-sufficient. And if that's the only thing you downloaded, you might not need me to help. But if you downloaded a more complicated resource, or maybe you downloaded something with a little more like sales intent, like a demo or something, that might show me you're a little bit more in the researcher phase, at least.
Yeah. It's definitely even how many times they visit the website, what part of the website.
Mm-hmm.
And here I would, I think that in a way, pricing can be kind of the buying signal, but not necessarily. If nothing else, I go to the pricing probably in the, let's say, when I'm in the researcher stage, not when I'm in the hand raiser, but it doesn't mean that I have any buying intent. It might be just, okay, I heard about a tool. I'm curious, the ballpark figure. Is it free tier? Is it, $20 a month? Is it $5,000? Just that I know where to put it in my head for whenever later I might need it. So just me visiting the pricing page, it doesn't mean that I'm the hand raiser. Where if I if I see someone reading our data privacy policy, yes, this is a different signal of what it is. Even if this is not the first page. So but blog post, probably every blog post is just an audience searching for something, or they found out about you, or saw your blog post mentioned somewhere, and they just checked it out.
Also, like, what is that blog post topic is going to matter. I had a client who did social media, had a social media scheduling app similar to a Hootsuite or something like that. And their most trafficked blog page was like the 20 sexiest Instagram handles or something. But that page never converted. I don't even think I could find a person who ever visited that page that ended up converting. So if we just like followed up with everyone that visited that page, or downloaded a resource off that page, we would, it's just a misalignment, which is where I think Loop kind of comes in. So we talked a bit about expressing, and I think this is where expressing is important with your audience, especially if we're talking blogs and things like that. The audience, when they're learning, is a great time to be expressing yourself, to be sharing who you are, what you do, and what you do best. I make a lot of content about lead scoring. There are a lot of people who are just in this audience phase that consume my lead scoring content, and that is totally fine. But if I treated all of those people as if they were hand raisers, it would just be a misalignment. So you start by expressing yourself in this audience phase with the type of content that you create.
Yeah. An interesting, a bullet point you included in the post to invite people to the show is, what AI should be learning at this stage, and then what kind of data really to think about, and what to measure. I think that goes to someone to what you were just saying now.
Well,
in a way, it's about understanding the audience, who they are, so you can think, okay, with that type of content, I'm attracting that audience. Then understand why that might be relevant, so you can further tailor the content pieces, the how you express yourself. You might need to change some words because you're attracting, I know, low level people, but if you want to get C-level executives coming to your website, that might be a signal for you that, hey, not the right people are coming to my website, if that's the goal. So these are kind of the data signals I think you should be thinking about at the audience stage. So who am I attracting with what I'm expressing I am, that we are doing as a company, as a service. So then you can tailor that messaging to steer what audience you're attracting to your content, to what you say.
So I did a couple of blog posts that went on the HubSpot community blog about lead scoring at the end in August, around the sunset of the legacy scoring tool. I also did content that was gated. And that's, I think, what tailoring in this step looks like is I know who I am. I am lead scoring. But then I tailor it in a way that makes sense for people who are just learning. Here's a blog post. It's easy to consume. It's easy for me to produce too, which does matter. And it's presented in a way that is on demand at their fingertips, and they can find as they're casually looking without any strings attached. Then I promote the blog post, and now I have a task in Asana to do some more. And that's evolving, but that's all for this audience specifically, for the audience.
Yeah. We're now also trying to kind of express our direction with doubling down on data hygiene, to that kind of express phase, as I see it, is we now updated our website for the third time in last month and a half, or a month. At 3 versions back, my CEO vibe coded the whole website because we realized, okay, things will change so rapidly, because the what we express we are doing, and then what we are learning from everyone is just so fast paced that inevitably things will change how we express, and then what we say is tailored to that particular now product direction or the problems we're tailoring. And all the LinkedIn content is really meant for the broad audience out there. It's ungated. It's where you can really, most of the LinkedIn content, as I see it, is for the audience stage of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there to for you to say, or the community posts, as you said. This is where you throw out your brains, your ideas, you share them. It should be valuable, thought provoking for the reader, but also to show you as the expert in that particular topic.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you express in the right way to the audience. And if you do that consistently, when they are in the research or hand raiser stage, they will get back to you. But measuring the success of that one post in the community, I mean, there is nothing you can measure, but people will see your post.
And that's where, like, so what does AI need at that stage? They need to understand, I think, what people want to learn about your space. And so that helps AI with your amplifying and evolving of your content by understanding the content that is resonating. And that's where, like, where the nuance comes in, because if I was writing blog post about the 50 sexiest Instagram handles, that's maybe that will get a lot of views, but it's not going to ever like be relevant. And that's where like that you have to go back to that express piece, like who are you? And that's not who I am.
Yeah. It's interesting, to see some posts which are completely relevant, kind of really top of the funnel, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Content which might get you a lot of eyes on your post, and you might get a lot of views, impressions of that post. But if it's not relevant to the audience you want to kind of approach and talk to, you might get 50,000 impressions, but no real conversations, no brand building, no recognition about the space. And to any AI that might consume that content later, it doesn't help bring you in the AI answer, if you will, in any relevant topic.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think's interesting moving forward, in an AEO world, is right now at least you're getting website traffic, but that that may not be the case forever. So some of those like high viewed blogs, high viewed topics, I mean, you of long term, you might not even be getting the web traffic to support that.
Yeah. And that kind of audience stage is where I think the loop marketing thinking comes into play. You need to be where your audience is. What HubSpot was saying throughout inbound. Be where your audience is, and that is LinkedIn with different formats, not only the text only posts, but you might need to have carousels. You need visuals. You need to be on LinkedIn Lives, on podcasts, on YouTube. And if your messaging is consistent, it will be unmeasurable brand building consistently for your audience. And when they get to the further stages of being a researcher or a hand raiser, they will understand who you are, because you are expressing what you are doing when they were still in the audience, and it's fine to let them be there.
So I want to make sure we touch on something around data, which is actually why shouldn't you be prioritizing collecting data from this group? Why shouldn't you gate every single blog and don't let any, like, do a like a newspaper where they don't let you read any of the articles until you subscribe? Why aren't we doing that?
If I look from my perspective, when I'm in the audience stage, I really have no intention to give you any details to just read a blog post. I mean, why are you even building that content, that information piece, if you're not there to share value or express your point of view to something? Imagine if every post on LinkedIn would be gated. That would be a strange place to be. So it's, and if you don't express yourself and talk about your points of view, how do you envision building a trust from someone to even thoroughly read a huge blog post if they don't trust you on that topic? You okay, you might get a few people who will still kind of leave their details to read it, but it's not meant to be gated. It's there to help you build your audience and build the trust with your audience, more than collect those 3 hand raisers who you can book a demo tomorrow. There are other ways how you could do that.
Yeah, and I know this has come up a lot for me. I'm American. We are notorious for not being super careful with our data. Clement, you're in Europe. You care more about your data.
I'm more on the other side of the ocean with my mindset. But yeah.
So I think that's a piece too, especially for global companies, to remember that you had mentioned, sure, there might be some people that are willing to enter their email to read your blog and they've never heard of you before. They're probably Americans and they're probably junk email addresses. That's what I would do.
I know for sure that people are doing that. You have a random email address that you use to sign up for the newsletter when they asked you to provide your email so you can access the newsletter. Then you have a junk email where I'll be getting all the newsletters that I never want to, but just because I'm interested in that one newsletter. So what's the point of getting that email? There's no point.
And that's why that's what I think is so important, is like, you have to build trust to get good data.
Yeah.
You're not going to get good data if people don't trust you.
Yeah. We had an interesting discussion with one of our users when we've been talking about our data firewall, which is kind of the first line of defense for the portal, which is really meant to understand all the form submissions quality. If you get ccc.aaa@gmail.com, I mean, this is a fake form submission. You should really just disregard that. So it doesn't count at how many leads you captured. You didn't capture that. So we have a discussion: should they just completely disregard that, or should they even delete those contacts being created in their portal? And one of the people at the meeting said, "Oh, but then our number of leads will went down, and our conversion will be different." I mean, yes, but does it matter? If you go from 5,000 form submissions where half of them are fake, if you just delete them and then you have 2,000 relevant form submissions, I would rather have 2,000 relevant form submissions than 5,000 random ones where there's nothing for me to do with it. There's no value for me as a business to have those emails. So I think it's more of, I think you said it well. You need to earn their trust in you, so they will leave the right contact details, and they will leave them when they are, genuinely interested to hear from you. At that point, they will. If they're fine to keep consuming your content because they see a value in it, they will leave you, their business email, or they will sign up for the free trial with the right email address. I think an interesting kind of hype happened with all the AI wrappers when ChatGPT came out. There are a lot of tools where they had a lot of signups for their free shiny AI wrapper, but the churn of those people was like 95%, because everybody was just signing up for all those random tools with random emails, and then no one converted because it was not meant to really collect the relevant people when they need that tool. It was just gated. Oh yeah, I need to build my a list of people that then I can email, and some of them will convert. Without trust, people will just leave you unuseful data.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's it. I mean, it doesn't feel intuitive, but it is when you talk it out loud. That the less you require people to give you upfront, the more accurate the data they will end up giving you will be. And it's both in the data they provide, but it's also, there's data in like the follow-ups too. So if you're passing contacts over to the sales team before those contacts are ready to talk to sales, you're losing trust there. You're losing trust with them, but you're also losing trust with the contacts in this stage.
Yeah.
I know we're getting close on time. I do want to just like rapid fire a couple like practical things, like what should you do with all of these things that we're saying. And for me, the first thing is to audit your current scoring. Are you scoring people based on really these top funnel, not just introductory level activities? And do these points trigger sales outreach? Should they? Just take a look. Like, is a blog visit really ready to go to sales? Is a single resource download ready to get called by the sales team? And then do what you're referring to as engaged people. Are those people actually buying? Because if they aren't, and if you're hearing from your sales team that these leads aren't good, then I think you need to relook at your scoring criteria. And the fear always is, well, I can't send my team fewer leads. I would really urge you to dig into why. And my best guess is you're being held to a metric that is harming your organization, harming a sales and marketing alignment, likely.
Yeah, and I would add to that. Think about the quality of data you're getting through all the kind of gated content or everything. If there are a lot of fake form submissions, a lot of useless data, maybe consider just ungating that piece of content. Anyway, it doesn't help you with anything. And think what kind of data you need to have to understand based on what you should score and then pass on leads to sales. If you understand your audience and then and when they're kind of genuinely curious about what you do, you will be in a better position to score them, to collect the right data, to go and search for the right data.
Mhm.
So then the full alignment down the road will be just more smooth.
Mhm.
And it's fine if you realize 20% of it is crap, so just disregard that. If nothing else, if you convert 5 people out of 100, you'll have 5% conversion. If you convert 5 people out of 60, the conversion will be way higher, even though the same people, but the same amount of people. But because you disregard it, and because you understand that 40% of the form submissions are just irrelevant, this will help you better think further how to do everything you do, and what's the purpose of the content you produce, which is where the audience stage comes in.
Mhm. Any final thoughts, Clement?
Looking forward to see you next week.
If I'm invited.
You are. I invite now. One thing to keep in mind through all those stages is it's not about the amount of data, but the quality of data and how you use it. It's more and more about building the relationship, building the trust with everyone. That's how we all will earn the DM. Hey, let's book a call for next week. People will respond differently if they know who you are, and if you're asking them about that particular topic that you're talking about openly, it will be a completely different stage where you start a conversation compared to if you're just a random person blasting something where they have no idea who you are. If you don't express yourself without always asking for their data, with all the AI and all the tech out there, we're just all swamped with everything. So yeah, when people are in your audience, treat them as they're just out there. The best you can do is build the trust.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think this stage is all about building the trust. And, we've seen it work when you're able to build trust. The sales conversation becomes, it's not even a sales conversation. It's like, here is my payment link. Like that's the whole sales conversation. So yeah. Well, next week we'll be talking about researchers. I'm interested to talk a little bit about like what makes researchers different than our audience, our learners, and how to segment those out, and what is the right balance there with data. So excited to dive into that next week.
If you're allowed to.
If I'm allowed. Drop a comment, tag Chris and say bring Casey back. That's what you should do. You should drop a comment here, tag Chris and say bring Casey back. That would be helpful.
Thank you, Casey, for joining me.
Thank
It was
you.
good.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one, everyone.